Good evening, everybody. Myself, Dr. Aparajita Nag, Associate Professor of Physics and a member of the SAP committee, extends a hearty welcome to all the participants to this webinar, Energy and Sustainability in India's Context, organized by the Swachhata Action Plan Subcommittee of our college, of BKC College. This is an initiative of the Energy Management Subcommittee of SAP. We are feeling very proud to announce that recently a 15 kWp solar panel, solar PV, has been installed on the rooftop of the main college building. And this has been installed by WebRadar, and we are immensely thankful to WebRadar for this. This solar PV source has been interconnected with the distribution network of our college and is being run in parallel with the CESC's distribution system. So this is indeed a very large step forward in the towards green energy, and we are really very thankful to WebRadar for this. We are happy to have amongst us Dr. Ratan Mondal, presently Director of School of Energy Studies, Jadavpur University. He has readily accepted our invitation, and he is the fittest person to enlighten us about the present day energy scenario of our country. To begin the webinar, let me first ask our Principal Madam to give her welcome address and to say a few words. Madam.
Okay, thank you. Today this seminar is really needed. We should know how to save energy, and we have all started doing it in our college. A 15 kilowatt power solar energy system has been installed by WebRadar in association with Larsen and Toubro, the company behind it who has installed it. And as she said, that it is actually it is running through a net metering system of the CESC through grid. So whatever power is generated through this system, this is forwarded to CESC, and CESC and whatever consumption we have, CESC gives that energy to us for the. So it is a net metering system. And the bills are already reducing. The electricity bills are already reducing. Moreover, one thing has to be done in our college. What I think is that to convert all CFLs and older versions to LED versions of light, so that we can save more energy. So today I think Professor Mondal will enlighten us with the scenario of energy sustainability in India, as well as address some local issues like how we can do it ourselves locally in our institution or in our houses, so that each of us are benefited through this system. So I welcome you all, you sir, and I welcome all the participants, and I congratulate the SAP committee for organizing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Now let us go to the start the webinar. I request Dr. Debjani Pal, Associate Professor of Physics, to give the introduction of Professor Ratan Mondal.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to introduce our honorable speaker, Dr. Ratan Mondal. Presently, he is working as Associate Professor and Director at School of Energy Studies, Jadavpur University. He has received his MTech and PhD degree in Energy Science and Technology from Jadavpur University. His areas of interest are in renewable energy, power engineering, optoelectronics, and so on. He has industrial experience in the field of thermal power plant and research experience in the field of solar photovoltaic applications and fabrication. He has 6 PhD students and about 40 publications in reputed journals and proceedings. So, hope we will get a good exposure on energy and sustainability in India's context. And so, welcome to Dr. Mondo.
Thank you, madam. Uh, Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for the brief introduction. It's my pleasure to be in this platform, in this webinar for discussing different issues related to energy, as well as how we can go for alternative use of alternative energies, as well as how we can save our environments. So for that, I want to thanks the organizing committee, the Brahmananda Keshav Chandra Nag College, the organizers, principal ma'am, especially thanks to Aparajita ma'am for inviting me to deliver a lecture on this topic. So it is an immense pleasure for us, those who are working on energy, and those who are working especially on renewable energy. So because we know there are huge problems coming related to energy, scarcity of energy. So that obviously I will discuss environmental issues. And the thing is, we are passing through some transition, means we are trying to change our habits. So it has to be changed. We have to be changed our habits of energy use from conventional fossil fuel based energy to the renewable based energy. And we must have some concept of energy conservation. So therefore these kinds of seminar, webinar, so it will be helpful to create awareness among the people. So the common people are the users. So if they understand, if they get the guidance from the experts, so that will be very much helpful for our country, for our society, as well as for our households. So we can save our environments, we can save our money that goes to the as the expense of energy. So let me share my presentation. Okay, therefore the topic chosen as energy and sustainability in Indian context, and I will try to give the ideas of the present situations of energy, whatever we are using nowadays, as well as the overview of renewable energy and what are the challenges and what are the possibilities. So therefore we'll try to cover these topics like this way. So different issues related to energy, energy utilization pattern and Indian status, carbon footprint and its trading possibilities. So it is very much important because carbon, we know the carbon is the greenhouse gas that has a adverse effects to the environments. So how many carbon dioxides we are producing from different sources of fuels. So we should have the idea of carbon footprints. Then energy management options. So how do we manage renewable energy opportunities in India? Solar thermal application, solar photovoltaic principle, solar photovoltaic application, and other renewable energy overview, and then we go for conclusion. So why renewable energy and power? So obviously already I mentioned, already it is discussed, and it is known the energy is very much important to us. So without having energy we cannot do anything. So our comfortness, our lifestyles, everything is related to energy. And you know, what are the basic needs of human beings? The food, then clothes, and the habitants. So apart from that, everything is related to the energy. And also health is another matter of concern. So health, education, so everything is related to energy. So without having energy, you cannot get anything properly. So therefore it is very much important. But what is the problem? So problem is the present situations through which we are passing through, because whatever the energy we are using, that's the mainly fossil fuel based energy. So fossil fuel based energy you cannot create in a short period of time. So we are consuming a high rate, but it is not producing. So what happens, someday we'll find there is a scarcity of the energy. So that we can get from the idea of present status scenarios such as proven reserves, production rates, and with respect to that the consumption rates, and what would be the future demands, because we are developing. There are different types of countries: developed countries, developing countries, and underdeveloped countries. So those who are developed countries, so that's all right, but those who are underdeveloped and developing countries, they are trying to develop to become at par of that developed countries. So what will happen for that case? So the energy consumptions, because energy consumptions is directly related to the development, so energy consumptions obviously will increase, and that will increase the future demands. But there is a limited reserves of that fossil fuels, that causes the problems. So there is a problems of energy crisis. And then what do? We must have energy security. So where from we'll get the energy security? And for that we must have to search some alternative resource, alternative ways, so that we can sustain. And there is some other adverse effects of fossil fuel based energy. Fossil fuels, what are the fossil fuels? Mainly coal, natural gas, and oils, petroleums. So these are the fossil fuels. So that has the adverse effects to the environment, because already I mentioned. So by burning of that fossil fuels causes a harmful gas, it produces harmful gas, that's a greenhouse gas, termed as greenhouse gas, mainly carbon dioxides, little bit carbon monoxides, and other gases, and also it may produce some NOx and SOx. So that has a adverse effects to the environment. So that greenhouse gas produces the global warming. So that is the main culprit for global warming. So temperature of the globe is increasing day by day. So we mostly aware about the situation that may happen if the temperature is increased by 2 or 3 degrees. So there will be possibilities of flooded maximum part of the earth by melting the glaciers. So that's are the problems in coming in futures. And there is another adverse effect. So climate change, already we are observing the climate change. So we have to go for some alternative ways. We have to resist that environmental problems. We have to have energy security, and we must have to have the development, and that development should be in sustainable in nature. So this is the world energy consumptions. You see the coal, natural gas, and oils are dominating in worldwide. This is up to 2018 data. It is available in nets. Anyone interested can go through. There are different reports, World Energy Consortiums, British Petroleums, etc., etc. So even in MNRE, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy from our country in India, so they have the websites. So someone interested to get the different informations related to energy can get from that websites also. So the interesting thing is that you see, so coal, petroleums and natural gas, they are dominating, but the thing is, you see the percentage of renewable energy. So the percentage of renewable energy also is increasing in nature. So that is our hopes for near future. And you see, there is some prediction in near futures what will happen whenever all the coals, mostly the petroleums and natural gas, when will will be depleted. So what happens? Obviously, the use of renewable energy source will increase. So this is the prediction. So there is a huge increase of renewable energy, and that is that renewable energy is replacing the other fossil fuel based energy. So hydro is also a renewable source of energy. So now coming to the Indian energy scenario. So you see, whatever the energy we are using, whatever the energy, there are different forms. So I am talking about the electricity, means the high quality energy that is produced from different other basic source of energy. So the installed capacity of India up to 2019, so it is around 350 gigawatt. So nowadays you'll find the installed capacity of India is around 360 gigawatt. And you see, most of that installation is based on thermal power plant. So this is the thermal power plants. So where coal is burned, gas is burned, then it produces steams, and that steams is introduced, that high pressure and temperature steam is introduced into the turbine to get the mechanical work, and that turbine is coupled with the alternator or generator to get the electricity. So you'll find the percentage sharing of coal-based thermal power plant is around 54%. So total thermal is around 63%. Nowadays, you'll find it goes beyond 65%. So that's the problem. So we have to reduce the use of coals, use of gas. So how we can reduce? So that is that we have to find out. And you see, the oil based is very little in India because we are poor in oil content. So and also the gas contents, we are a little bit rich in coal content. So therefore, maximum thermal power plants are based on coal based thermal power plant. So you see, there we have little bit hydro. Hydro, that is also a renewable source of energy, but it is considered as conventional source of energy because from very beginnings we are using hydroelectricity, and as it is using, therefore it is conventional source of energy, and we have a considerable amounts of hydroelectricity, that is 13%, but it is reducing from beginnings. If you go through the data by 2005, you will find the contributions of hydroelectricity is around 19%. So why it becomes why it is reducing? It is reducing because the progress of hydroelectricity is very less compared to the progress of thermal electricity. So progress of thermal electricity, because thermal installations of thermal power plants is much more easier and much more cost effective than the installation of hydro power plants. So, but we have to change our policies. So nuclear is 1.9%. Other renewable source of energy consists of mini hydel, micro hydel, along with other like solar, biomass, wind, etc. So they contributing is 21%, and mostly among them mostly they are from solar photovoltaic or wind energy. So what I mentioned, there are some adverse effects of emissions from thermal power plants, fossil fuel based power generating stations. So that is the carbon emissions. So you can get the figure. So how much carbon dioxide is emitting from energy sectors? So mostly most of the carbon dioxide is emitted in energy sectors. Agriculture a little bit, but that is also because of the use of pumps, because of use of means other diesel sets, means DG sets, etc., and also other machines used in agriculture. And there is land use change, so there is deforestation is another aspect, another issues, and that increase the carbon dioxide emissions. Industrial process is also there, and the waste that goes to the environments and after burning as well as after gets its changed, digested or fermented, so it liberates carbon dioxide that goes to the environment. So we must have the concept of carbon footprint from various sources. So what do you understand by carbon footprint? Carbon footprint is the amount of carbon dioxide emission per unit generation of electricity or per unit generations of other forms of heats, other forms of energy. So if we go to the part of electricity, you will find the coal mainly generates maximum carbon dioxide, means coal-based thermal power plant have highest carbon footprint. So it is around 863 to 941 for bituminous coals for generating 1 electricity of electricity, that much of gram for generating 1 unit of electricity. And obviously brown coal is the poor quality of coal, will have higher percentage of higher values of carbon footprint. Next, oil 893 grams, and also natural gas also considerable amounts of carbon footprints. Nuclear power is less, although we know nuclear power don't have any emissions because there is no combustions, there is nuclear reactions, and that nuclear reactions do not produce any kinds of emissions. So where from that 6 gram of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour electricity generations comes? So that is due to the material. So it is the inbuilt carbon dioxide, and that is produced during the producing the materials of the nuclear power plants and for processing the fuels. So for processing the fuels means nuclear fuels like uranium, thorium, etc., that consumes huge energy. So that is considered here as an inbuilt carbon dioxide emission. So similarly in hydroelectricity also don't have any emissions, but inbuilt emissions is 15 gram per unit of electricity. So photovoltaic is quite high, 106 carbon dioxide, because the producing the photovoltaic cells, I will discuss later on, it is semiconducting material, so it is energy intensive process, so that it consumes high energy, and that high energy that mostly comes from fossil fuel based energy, and that is considered here as a carbon dioxide, contributed as carbon footprint. So wind power is also similar. Similarly, the wind power has the inbuilt carbon dioxide emissions is 21 gram per unit of electricity. So we must have some concept of carbon trading. What does it indicate? You see, the carbon trading is the process, and that is develops some mechanisms. So there is some mechanisms, internationally accepted mechanisms, is termed as clean development mechanism. So it is clean development mechanism, and that is initiated and known as Kyoto Protocol. So I am not going details of that, but the concept here means there are different kinds of countries already I mentioned. So developed countries, developing countries, and underdeveloped countries. So in developed countries, already there are so many power stations. So it is very difficult to immediate shutdowns of that thermal based power station. So what they are doing, they are emitting. So they are changing over to the renewable energy sources time to time, but immediately it is very difficult to stop all the thermal based power stations. So what they can provide, they suggest that, so there are underdeveloped countries and developing countries, and whenever they want to install the power stations, why not they are going for renewable based power stations. And when they will go for renewable based power station, and obviously the renewable based power stations, renewable based systems has different issues, different problems, as well as cost is also high, initial cost is also high. So where from they will get the money? So the money will be provided the developed countries, those who are emitting carbon dioxide, and the beneficiaries will be the countries who are not emitting the carbon dioxide during productions of electricity. So that is the mechanism, and and that is governed by United Nations. So there are some organizations, so there are some rates, international rates for carbon pricing. So it is around, so you see the high level commissions suggest the price is around USD 40 to USD 80 per ton of carbon dioxide by 2020, and it will be higher by 2030 is around USD 50 to USD 100 per tons of carbon dioxide. That means if we go for more installation of solar based or other renewable based power station, so we are less emitting that much of carbon dioxide, or equivalent amounts of carbon dioxide, whatever we are not emitting by producing that energy. So equivalent money that will get from that organizations, and the organizations will get the money, those who are emitting the carbon dioxide. So this is the mechanism. So it is termed as carbon trading. So although there are so many problems already I have mentioned, and you see we must have uninterrupted supply of electricity upon demands, and also there is a problem of rural areas, so lack of steady source of grid electricity due to limited generations. So that is to be taken care of. And the last point, you see, although we are passing through 21st centuries, and so we just feel we are passing through our modern lives. But the thing is, approximately 10 crore rural families rely on kerosene for lighting in India nowadays itself. So it is a tremendous figures for us, and we must think for that peoples, those who are nowadays also relying on the kerosenes. So we must do something for them. So then what are the options? So energy management options. We must have to have proper energy management. So how we can get, or how we can perform or pass through that proper energy management? So that is by using renewable energy sources. So one point is renewable energy, use of renewable energy. Next, energy conservation. So energy conservation is the concept to conserve the energy. We must have to aware about the misuse of the energy. We must not do that. So whenever energy is required, we will use, and we must go for optimum utilizations of our energy. So that is the concept of energy conservations. You know, whenever energy is produced at a thermal power station, what happens there? Coal is fed into the thermal power station, and we'll get the electricity, and that electricity comes to our house, and we use that electricity by some device, by some appliances. And what happens there? We know the thermal power plants have a very less efficiency. It is around 35%. Whatever be good the plant is, it will not go beyond that 35%. So if you put 100 units of energy in the form of coal into the thermal power stations, and you will get is around 35 unit of energy, and that will comes through transmission distribution lines, then comes to our house at the demand sides, and then we use it in lighting purpose or in comfortness like AC or fan or the other utilities like refrigerations, etc. So every device, there will be some, every process there will be some loss. So that will be indicated the term performance ratio as well as efficiency. So what we get if we put 100 units of energy as a coal into the power stations, at the receiving ends you can utilize is around 20% or 20 units of that of energy. That means is 1/5. It is 1/5 we can utilize. So if you can save 1 unit of electricity at our demanding sites, at our user ends, so you can save 5 times of energy at the sending ends, means at the generation ends. So that is the beauty of energy conservation. So if you conserve 1 unit of electricity, means 5 units of energy in the generating station. So that may comes through other process like energy efficient technologies and process. So you know there are star rating. So there are different appliances we are using. So we must have the systems with higher efficiency. How we can how it can be achieved? So obviously it should have proper design, optimum designs of the systems, and we will monitor whether the systems is efficient or not. There are some governmental organizations, government bodies, nodal agencies, state nodal agencies, etc. like WebRadar, government bodies like MNRE, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and under them there is Bureau of Energy Efficiency. There is some organization, it is under Government of India, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and they provide some certificates, you know, the star rating. So 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. What we do actually, having higher star rating means lower consumption of energy. We have the same outputs. So that is our motto, to have higher star rating systems. So that may comes with have proper energy efficient technologies. And for that we must have proper energy planning, education, awareness, capacity building and training. Already mentioned, that is very much essential. Unless until awarding all the common peoples, you cannot do anything. So this is the concept of energy efficiency already mentioned. So what are the policies that may taken to have energy efficiency or improve energy efficiency? So this is the energy efficiency. This is the savings, and with have higher energy efficiency, you get the productivity gain. Means using the same amounts of energy, you can have higher productivity, high amounts of outputs. So this is the policy in short we can say. So you must have good housekeeping, you must follow regulation and standard that is provided by different organizations like government body, etc. Industrial cogeneration, that is very much important. What do you understand by cogenerations? Means whenever industry they are using the thermal energy, there are so many energies goes out as a waste. How it is? You see the combustible products, means the flue gas that goes out at high temperature, and sometimes you'll find some of the flares is coming from the chimney. Means there is some potential of energy that is losing to the outsides. So what we can do? We can use that energy as a waste heat recovery. So there are some systems and device so that can that can recover some of the energy from the loss. So more material loss, more energy loss, and in other form more waste. So waste at high temperature, so there is a more loss of energy, so that must be recovered. And industrial cogenerations means the generations of electricity as well as thermal heats. So thermal heats can be utilized for thermal utilizations as well as we can generate electricity. Fuel switching, Fuel switching means so switch over to the other resources like that, non-renewable to renewable sources of energy. Fiscal policies like tax. So why the people will be get interested to for using this renewable based energy or other resources, they can be, so that can be provided, or people may be interested if they get some facilities, if they get some benefits, so that benefits can be provided by government. So there is some fiscal policies like tax, rebates, subsidies must be provided by governments, and then only people will be more interested to go for using these alternative resources. So there must be some benchmarking, means some standard that must be followed, and there will be some already I mentioned some regulatory bodies, they will fix that benchmarks for that products. And obviously there is another concept of energy audit. Energy audit means the examinations of energy use of any industry, any organizations, even that can be done in your households also. So to find out the areas where energy is going to be lost, where is the misuse, whether the system is efficient or inefficient, that is to be find out by proper energy auditing process. And from there, the energy audit teams will recommend some, do some recommendation, and to improve the performance of your house, energy performance of your house, of your organizations, of your country, of your state, etc. So that can be done with have proper energy auditing process. And as per the recommendation provided by energy auditors, so you have to adopt that recommendations. Obviously that recommendation should be fruitful, considering the cost also, how many years will like the payback periods, etc., present worth value. So there are some economics methods, and that is to be used for analyzing whether if you follow that recommendations, whether the systems will be beneficiary or cost effective or not. So cost benefit analysis, that is also very much important. So next, R&D, that is also another part, research and developments. Without having that, you cannot have the advanced systems. So this is the different renewable energy conversion technologies. So renewable energy routes can be classified as energy from sun, geothermal energy, solar direct, solar indirect. And solar direct, you know, the solar thermal means direct use of heat energy is the roots of solar thermal. Already we are using from very beginnings, from ancient years, we are depending on the solar energy, solar thermal energy for drying and other purpose. And there is another route is solar photovoltaic. That means you can convert the solar radiations or solar light directly into electricity. So there are some indirect routes. Indirect routes means the wind, hydro, biomass, OTEC. Everything is due to the solar radiations. Due to the differential irradiations of solar radiations on different locations causes the wind, hydropower, and the formations of biomass due to photosynthesis process is because of the solar energy. And also there is concept of ocean thermal energy, that is like tidal waves and OTECs. That is also another part of indirect solar energy. So coming to the potential, Indian potential state-wise is given here. It will not be clear. I have put it in a single slide. So anyone interested, you can. It is available in the websites of Ministry of Power or Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. So you can search for that. So to get the idea about how much potential is there, means potential of wind power, potential of small hydro, wind power is considerable. It is there is a considerable amounts of wind power. Potential is around 302 gigawatt, and also small hydro is 19 gigawatt. Biomass is around 17 gigawatt, 17.5. Cogeneration bagasse has a considerable amounts of megawatt, 5,000 or 5 gigawatt. Waste to energy, there is also a little bit potential for that. Solar energy has a huge potential. You see, it is around 750 or 748.9 gigawatt. So there are huge potentials we have if we can utilize this much of energy in a proper mix. So we can replace all the fossil fuel based energy. So this is the solar power density in India. You see, these are the different colors, represents the concentrations of solar energy. Concentrations means solar energy means the solar radiations that comes or comes on a particular surface, comes in terms of watt or kilowatt per meter square normal to the surface. And if you integrate that energy, because that is changing in nature, and the highest it will be is around 1000 watt per meter square, and starting from 0, so from morning to evening. So if you integrate that energy throughout the day, so the you will get the kilowatt hour for that day. So this is the kilowatt hour. It's mentioned here. India receives on an average 4 to 7 kilowatt hour per meter square of solar energy daily, with an average of 250 to 300 sunny days in a year, because we know there are rainy seasons also, and the solar energy is intermittent in nature. Sometimes you'll find, sometimes you may not find. So average radiations we get is around 250 to 300 sunny days in a year. So Rajasthan and Gujarat receives maximum radiations in the range of 6 to 6.6 kilowatt hour per square meter. Cumulative grid connected installed solar power capacity is quite low in India. So this is based on these figures, and you see this is the data considering up to year 2012. So I intentionally put this data up to 2012 because you see there is a quite low installations. Grid connected solar power is very low. Additional this is the proposed or additional that is added, and there is some water heatings collector areas that is also given here. And why I put the data of 2012, because at that time there is another project launched by Government of India that is called Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Missions. And in Jawaharlal Nehru Solar Missions, there are 3 stages they declared, and ultimately they declared the installed capacity of renewable based power station that is to be integrated within the to the grids by 2022 will be 175 gigawatt. So there is a big target of integrating renewable based solar energy that is to be integrated into the grids by 2020 is 175 gigawatt, and out of which solar energy is 97 gigawatt, 97,000 megawatt, means 97 gigawatt. So this is the, and out of which ground mounted solar projects is 57 gigawatt and rooftop solar is 40 gigawatt, and is around 63, 62 gigawatt will be from wind power, and rest the other fuels like biomass and etc. So, and you see the so far the installed capacity of solar based power plants is by 2020, so is 34.6 gigawatt. So although we understand the figure the target is huge, so it is very difficult to reach that targets within the next 1 year. But if you see these figures, that is also a considerable amount of energy that is already installed, considerable amounts of considerable values of capacities of solar based energy that is also installed, and that is generating power and feeding that power into the grids. So coming to the solar photovoltaics, so it is art of converting solar energy directly to electricity. So what we can do, so there is some materials termed as solar cell. Solar cell is made with some semiconducting materials. Nowadays, whatever solar cells we are using, mostly based on silicon based solar cell, and out of that there are different types of silicon based solar cells, monocrystalline, polycrystalline, amorphous, etc. We are mostly depends on the polycrystalline solar cells. So what happens there, so radiation, solar radiation that consists of photon energy comes over the surface of the material, surface of the cells. So cells are nothing but a PN junction diode. So it is nothing but a PN junction diode. So there is p-type materials, and there another side there will be n-type materials, and there will be some metal grids to extract or inject the ions or charge that should pass through the external circuits. So what happens there? So this is the solar photovoltaic effects. It is discovered by Alexander Edmund Becquerel in 1839. So now coming to the principle of the solar photovoltaic. So it is by a semiconductor causes excitation of electrons, and that absorptions will depends on the material, and the there is absorption of light by semiconductor causes excitation of electrons, then creation of additional electrons and holes, then that will be separated by electric fields provided by movements of electrons, while it will be connected through some external loads, then we get the power. So V into I. So this is the configurations of any kinds of cell. PN junctions already have depletion layers, and you see there is a metal contacts. So it is fingering is there, especially used as a metal grids to extract the charge, and that should be fed into the external circuits, and there will be some back contacts. So this is the configurations, and over there there will be some anti-reflection coating, some transparent adhesive, there is a glass cover. So there will be some toughened glass that is to be that will be used to cover the whole systems, and then it's here. So you will get the cells, but thing is so there is a cells that can produce very small amounts of power. Why it is? In any cells, in any kinds of junctions, silicon based solar cells, we get the voltage, we get the current is 2 amps or more. So if it is 2 amps, so from one cell 1 watt. So that is very less. That is part of the energy that not be useful for large scale power generation. So what we can do, we can connect all the cells in series, so to get the modules. So modules so then the modules further connecting in series, you get the strings for generations, and the strings to get the array. So cells to modules, then modules to string, solar string, and solar strings to solar array generation. How we can produce what are the methods or steps to prepare the cells, and I'm going details of that, and from cells to modules, modules to panels, panels to array, and for power generation there will be different other subsystems like electricity meters, AC isolation, fuse box, inverter, battery. If it is standalone systems, obviously we must have to store the, and there will be some charge controller and distance controller is known as charge controller, and generation meters, DC isolation, movable in natures. So coming to the solar photovoltaic power plants. So there are different types of solar photovoltaic power plants. So it can be classified in 3 ways: standalone off-grid power plants. Off-grid means the systems are not connected in the grid. So the electricity is used to charge the battery banks. This power is connected to it. Suppose you have a solar lantern. So that is a kind of standalone power plants. And grid connected centralized systems. So there is no needs of storage device. We know the solar radiation is available at night for that energy, and that can be utilized at nights for standalone systems. But if you go for grid connected centralized systems, so there is no needs of storage device. So system is directly connected to the grids after converting that power into DC to AC. So DC to AC, there is some inverter and other power conditioning units that is required to get grid quality power. Without having that grid quality power, you cannot connect or synchronize your systems with the grids. So those who are electrical engineers, so it is very much understandable for them. So without having that quality of the power, you cannot synchronize. So the inverter is special kinds of inverter. So I am feeling very much happy hearing that in this college, your college is also WebRadar installs some power plants, and that is working in good conditions, and that is reducing the electricity bills. So grid connected systems will be more helpful for those institutes and those areas where they have the daytime loads, means day loads is more and night load is less. So what they can do, if they install the grid connected power plants, so in the daytimes they can use their own power from their stations, and if the productions of the power is less, so what it can be done, they can draw the power from the grids. And if the production is more than that of utilization, so the excess powers can be fed into the grids. So there is a concept of net metering. So based on that net metering, so people can pay to the suppliers or to the authority who are providing the grid connections with your systems. So there is some good news for us from West Bengal perspective. You see, the net metering and gross metering is coming in domestic areas also. It was not there. The Electricity Regulatory Authority of West Bengal gave the permissions to use the grid connected systems for households also. So for domestic purpose, it will be very much helpful. That can reduce the electricity bills up to 90%. So grid connected distributed systems, there is another concept of grid connected, but it is distributed in nature. What happens there? You see, if you consider there is some village, they are isolated from the grid connection. So what they can do, they have some local resource like wind, like solar, like biomass, like they may have battery backup for storage, and they may have some other DG sets that can be incorporated within the grids. So there will be some local grids, and that grids and all the stations or all the power generating systems, they will feed the power into the grids, and the grids is connected to the loads of the villagers. So that is directly not connected to the central grids, it is distributed in nature. So grid connected distributed systems, and the grid connected distributed systems is the future for power systems. So why I am telling that? Because when all the fossil fuel based energy will get replaced by renewable based power stations, then what happens? Renewable based power stations are intermittent in nature, and that depends on the weather. And the distributed systems, distributed grid connected systems, and that distributed grid connected systems may be connected within the main grids or may not be. There will be some provisions. Whenever they require, they may connect with the main grids, and whenever they don't require, they may disconnect from the main grids. So they may be self-dependent for their own resource. So that will comes through some smart systems, smart device, smart meterings, like smart grid. There is a concept of smart grids is coming. Smart metering is also coming. So this is the solar applications. So there are huge scopes for solar energy. So this is the solar photovoltaic module. There is refrigerator, there is standard power generating station, and there is other stations that can generate the power to the remote areas, and there is possibilities of use of solar system. Finally, mobile towers are there, and they are using the diesel sets. So these are very much harmful for that local people. So what we can do, we can go for pleasant source of energy like solar energy. So there will be some battery backups. They can charge that power, and the systems can run utilizing this solar energy. So this is building integrated solar. There is a concept of open canal or floating type solar power stations is also there. And there is also another concept of agrivoltaic. So I'm coming later on. So this is grid interactive PV power plants. The remote loads. So it is increase the voltage regulation of the systems, and overall it improves the quality power station. So this is the modules, and this is the isolation switch, this is the inverter, then isolation switch, and then there is some net metering that goes to the grids, what I mentioned, and this is the local. Preferably the power should comes from your own system, and it is unable to meet that requirements, so excess powers may draw from the system. And whenever the load is less, so excess power generated by the systems will deliver to the grid system. So this is hybrid power systems already mentioned. This is and battery backup, and this is battery backup power, but that is connected with the utility grids. So whenever all the systems are unable to meet the requirements, so excess power can be drawn from the utility grids. So that is another use of solar power. So we know the electric vehicles is the future for transportation system. So electric vehicles is coming, obviously. So who will charge the electric vehicles? Who will charge the batteries on the batteries used in the vehicles? So for that, solar is the option. So what we can do, there is a, you see, this is the parking lot. So parking lots, what they are doing, parking lots is associated with the charging station. So there is charging station from that goes to the electric vehicles. So that is the option. In the parking lots, your car may get charged. So this is a small case studies. We have a 1 kilowatt. The very small, but it is grid connected system. Nowadays, it is popular. But we have started. We have installed these systems in 2016. So 5-6 years back. So it is now is also good working conditions. But the problem is that in the last Amphan, that is that was took place. So in that Amphan, the panels are get damaged, but the other systems are in very good conditions. So this is the systems, solar modules, and this is the inverter, and this that is connected to the electricity grids, and this is the solar power, and this is the local loads. So this project is taken as a experimental work for research work, and this is still it is working in good conditions before Amphan, and the per day productions of electricity is around 4 unit of electricity. It was producing 4 unit of electricity per day. So it is good enough for a small family. So this is the snapshots of different components. So this is the control panels used for experimentation purpose, and this is the inverter. So this is E today, means some of the days we find 3.91 kilowatt hour, and this is the panels. And also we as we measure the performance of the systems. So this is the sensors, or this is the instruments to measure the solar radiations. So total radiations, it is pyranometer. So pyranometer is used to measure the total radiations for evaluating the performance of the system. So this is the performance curves. I am not going details of that. So now coming to other renewable energy systems already mentioned. So these are the different sources with different shares by different years. So I'm not going details of that. So already we know this much of PW, 174 PW of solar energy coming on the Earth's surface, and out of that 89 PW absorbs by the globes, and rest goes to outsides. So there is a huge quantity of solar energy that is entrapped by the Earth, and that can be utilized for meeting our future. So solar thermal means the hot thermal energy. So that can we can get by using some working media, the heats, or to trap the heats within the water to get hot water. That hot water can be utilized for different uses. And you see, this is a flat plate collector. This is evacuated tube collectors. And if you want to get high temperature steam, high temperature water, so these are stationary ones. So while you want to concentrate the solar radiations, so that's you cannot keep it is instant. So it should be in kinds of radiation, especially one is beam radiation, another one is diffuse radiations, and there will be some refractive, other re-radiative radiations that is also there, that is also diffuse in kinds. So diffuse and the beam radiations, and beam radiations obviously have some definite directions, and the percentage of beam radiations is 70%, and diffuse radiations is 30%. So mostly the energy content is within the beam radiations, and whenever you want to concentrate that radiation, so you have to, because the beam radiation directions is changing time to time and place to place, so you have to track your systems to focus that beam radiations to concentrate on your receiver. So then only you can achieve high temperature within your medium. So water can be converted to steams by using this concentrator. So this is parabolic type concentrator. This is central tower concept. Central tower concept means there are heliostats, means there are several arrays of mirrors. So mirror concentrate all the radiations to the towers, and then what happens? The working medium within the towers get heated, produce steams, and that steams at high pressure and temperature can be used for power generations as conventional thermal power station. So that is another kinds of parabolic type concentrator. So this is the cogenerations by using the solar radiations as using the fossil fuels. So combined cycle plants. So it is combined cycle plants that uses the solar energy as well as energy from gas, fuel gas. So then there is some gas turbine plants. So gas turbine plants and there is some cogenerations also. The gas turbine plant generates the power as well as the exhaust of that gas turbines that goes to the some heat exchanger to produce steams, and that steams further can be expanded into the turbine to get the electricity. So this is an ideal example of cogeneration. Potential of wind energy, but you cannot get all that energy, all that this much of E you cannot convert to your useful forms, and for that there are some limits. It's termed as base limits. Only you can if whatever be the ideal systems you have, it is 100% ideal, then only that can be applied for base limits, and for that case the efficiency of the systems will be is around 59.9 something. So is around 60%, just like Carnot cycles, while converting that thermal energy into the mechanical work. So that is the base limits. So the optimum use is 60% in case of ideal things. But in actual case, because there are some laws, all the systems are not be ideal. So efficiency can achieve around 40%. If the systems is highly efficient, high speed systems, horizontal axis systems, then only you can achieve is around 40%. So this is the concept of wind energy, and you see there are different kinds of wind systems. One is horizontal axis wind turbine. So this is axis is horizontal in nature, and this is vertical axis wind turbines. So it does not depends on directions of the winds, but it depends on the directions of the winds. So the system should be faced towards the winds from where it is flowing, and for that there is some tail vane. So tail vane is there that directs the system towards the winds, but the efficiency of the systems is high, but the efficiency of the vertical axis wind turbines is low. Coming to biomass and bioenergy. So biomass is renewable energy made available from material derived from biological sources. Biomass is any organic material which has stored sunlight in the form of chemical energy. As the fuel, it may include wood, wood waste, straw, manure, sugarcane, and many others byproducts from the variety of agricultural process. So this is the biological process. It may from wood, it may from animal matters. So these are the different sources. So biomass energy, the energy which is derived from the woods, already mentions. Biomass is generated from biomass in gasifier by partial combustion. So in case of biomass, what happens there are different routes of combustion. If it is thermochemical chemical conversions, so chemical conversions are thermochemicals and the biological. And thermochemical conversions, mostly combustions, already you know the combustions, then gasifications. From biomass you can produce some gases that can be used directly into the engines in presence of diesels and other in presence of diesels. So that will replace the diesels. So that is termed as gasifications. Then the pyrolysis, that will produce the liquid and gaseous fuels also. So that can be used into the engines, or you can use that fuels for direct burning. And there is also biochemical process, and the biochemical process is the digestion of the biomass. You know the gobar gas plants, and what happens there, in absence of oxygen, there is some microorganisms, microbes that that converts the biomass into carbon dioxide and methane, and that gases is around 50%, 50% methane, 50% carbon dioxide. So that products can be directly used into the engines to get the power and for other uses. So this is the gasification process. I am not going details of that. So this is the compositions of producer gas. So a typical available gas compositions from gasifier is given here by volume percentage. You see carbon monoxide 20%, carbon dioxide 10%. So this is the compositions. And if you use air as oxidizing agent, so you must have the nitrogen in that compositions, and the calorific value of that biomass, or of that gaseous product or the producer gas is around 4 to 6 megajoule per normal meter cube. So these are different types of gasifier, gasification process. So this is updraft gasifier, downdraft gasifier, fluidized gasifier, and there is some other ways have oils. So that sits non-edible oil. So there are so many non-edible oils that can be extracted from different seeds of the bioproducts like castor, jatropha, mohua, sal, linseeds, neem, pongomia. So this is the oil fractions current estimated. So it is previous one. So oil tons per hectares of years. So these are the productivity of that materials, and you see that oils can be used directly into the engines after proper processing of that oils. So that process is known as transesterification. So transesterification to reduce the viscosity of the oils, to reduce the stickiness of the oils, and that will help to become that oils near to the properties near to the diesel oils. So this is the concept of OTEC. So there are temperature difference already mentioned. So I'm not going details of that. So surface temperature and the bottom temperature, and that temperature difference can be utilized in these engines in the OTEC systems. So it is mostly in research areas. So there are some plants are there that is also running. So geothermal is the energy within the earth crust. So the energy that can be trapped, that can be used, that energy can be used for converting the water to steams, and that water can be expanded into the turbine to get the electricity. So small hydro, there is some huge opportunities of have small hydro. So hydro has a some benefits because you see the hydropower that you can get any times of the day. So it is less intermittent in nature. Solar energy only you can get in day, but in night what do you do? What you can do, there is a huge scopes of pump storage hydroelectric plants. What you can do at the daytime, so you can generate electricity by solar systems, and that energy can be utilized for pumping the water from low level to high level. And at the night, what you can do, that water from high level can be discharged to the low level, low water levels through some turbines to get the electricity. So there is a combination of solar and pump storage hydropower plants will help to improve the load factor and the problems of energy storage. So there are different definitions of a small hydro. I'm not going details of that. Classifications of micro, mini, and small hydro. So there is a concept of micro hydro, means in the level of kilowatt, in the level of watt. So it is possible. So that can generate power even in your drain. So what happens there, you know, in the rainy season, there are huge water that is passing through the drains. So that small units of hydro systems can be placed within the drain, and then you can get the electricity. So this is the equations. Gamma QH is the hydropower. For power generation, the capital cost of the different energy resources. So this is the comparisons. Nowadays, we are finding the cost of photovoltaic and cost of photovoltaic is low compared to the wind also. It is below the wind power. So this is the levelized cost of electricity from different sources. You see the cost of electricity from solar photovoltaic is around 2.5 rupees per unit generations of electricity, where it is wind is around same. Whereas we are purchasing the power from our national grids by the cost of 7 rupees per unit. So you see possible ways to add megawatt and megawatt hour to country's electricity supply. So it is necessary to move away from uniform support to all renewables models to selective appropriate support models, because already mentions renewable source of energy are intermittent in nature. So you have to go for a proper mix of all types of energy for best way of utilization, best to follow best path of utilization. Mini hydel and biomass based power generation are identified for adding megawatts with good plant load factors. Wind power generation follows next at relatively low plant load factors. Encouraging solar water heating systems will help conserve electrical energy used for heating in urban areas. Generation of solar photovoltaic power is growing rapidly, needs suitable large-scale storage facility. For that, pump storage plants may be the possible solutions. So agriculture, agrivoltaic is the another concept to ensure energy security and food security of the country. But what is agrivoltaic? Agrivoltaic is the simultaneous use of photovoltaic power as well as agriculture. You know, there are so many species of plants need not require huge radiation. So what we can do, we can go for agriculture at the bottom of the photovoltaic plants. So from that you can get the electricity as well as you can get agricultural product. So it is very much useful for tea garden. So now I'm coming to the end of my presentation. So before ending it, I am concluding with, you see the energy utilization pattern is changing worldwide. Harnessing of renewable based environment friendly new energy technology and lower carbon footprint is essential. So we are passing through the stage of transitions. Transitions means the transitions from conventional to renewables, or better to say non-renewable source of energy to renewable source of energy. So most of renewable energy like solar thermal, solar photovoltaic, wind, biomass, small hydro are the mature technologies, have huge opportunity and possibilities with several applications as well as grid integration. Researchers are working on so many other technologies and advanced material to improve the performance, environment friendly, longer life, ease of operation and reliable use with lower cost. There is a great interest in savings energy and in the use of renewable energies. Hybrid renewable energy systems with large pump storage plants will help to resolve the problems of intermittency and be useful for uninterrupted power supply. Although there are some issues, challenges for using renewable based energy, but have huge possibilities to go for sustainable development process by keeping our Mother Earth safe for our future generation. So with these words, I am concluding my session. So anyone have any questions? So thank you very much. So anyone?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. This is a broad overview of both renewable energy and the energy sources of which are we are using currently. I think the students, the environment science, they have a chapter of energy and renewable energy. And I think the whole chapter is being covered with great details. And I think that if you have written all the data and everything, it will help you in the examination also. It has been covered so elaborately. কোনো স্টুডেন্টের কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকলে তোমরা জাস্ট মিউটটা এটাকে আনমিউট করে তোমরা করতে পারো। প্রত্যেকটা জিনিস, কারণ রিনিউয়েবল এনার্জি সোর্স তো নানা রকমের হয়, উনি প্রত্যেকটাকে ধরে আলোচনা করেছেন। হিউজ এরিয়া, একটা বিশাল টপিক উনি আজকে কভার করেছেন। যদি কারোর সেই মত রকম ভাবে প্রশ্ন না থাকে তাহলে আই উইল রিকোয়েস্ট আমাদের Professor Shampa Ghosh, Associate Professor of Political Science, to give a formal vote of thanks.
It's my honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this webinar a success. First of all, I wish to express my profound gratitude on behalf of the Energy Management team of SAP Committee of our college, Dr. Ratan Mondal, for his fascinating presentation. Thank you very much, sir. I must thank the principal of our college, Dr. Papia Chakraborty, for her constant support and encouragement. Thanks to Dr. Madhumita Roy, coordinator of SAP committee, for a sincere endeavor and guidance. I thank all the members of the technical committee led by Dr. Madhumita Roy. I should thank all the staff members and students of our college for their immense support. I thank Dr. Aparajita Nag, Dr. Devjani Pal, Sri Amol Krishna Pal, and Sri Alok Das for their enthusiastic and energetic cooperation. Last but not the least, I wish to extend our warm thanks to all the participants for being here with active participation. Thank you all once again for your cordial cooperation and immense support. Thank you very much.
Okay, and let us also thank Professor Shampa Ghosh, who has given the vote of thanks, and she has excluded her name. She is one of the most senior teachers of our college and is always guiding us in whatever endeavor we are doing. So on a good note, we will end today, and we hope that we will follow sir's recommendations, and all of us should act responsible citizen, and we should do our part to keep the environment clean and make it a better place for our future generation. Thank you all. Good night.